Good morning, students. Welcome back to Java programming class. In my yesterday's session, we have discussed about the Java's collections framework. We have discussed different classes and interfaces under this collection framework. We said all the classes and interfaces which are responsible for this collection framework, they are under java.util package. So we had a brief discussion on different classes, and we have executed few of the programs in Java's collection framework, and I have given the complete notes related to that Java's collection framework. Okay. The concept is specific for IT people, IT students, so they can go with that concept preparation for their external exams. In today's session, we will be discussing another important concept for your. This is also specific for IT people only. The applets as well as the JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. Okay. So if time permits, I will execute. I will try to execute the programs, related programs as well, because the theory concept is only very bulky over here. So we need to rush a little bit faster so that we can do the execution of programs as well. Okay. So in the first part, we will discuss about the applet concept. I mean, what is an applet and how it is helpful in Java programming. This applet nowadays nobody is using, but as it is there in your curriculum, we need to touch this one, and we need to discuss how we can write applet programs in Java with the help of a simple program. I need to give the explanation. Okay. See, in this we don't have much topics, just the basics we need to touch, and the architecture of Java programming, architecture and skeleton of applet, and then with the help of a simple applet program, we need to conclude the applets concept. So first we go with this, then we go for the last concept which is there in your fourth unit, the JDBC. Okay, we'll try to cover this JDBC as well. See, the other concepts like GUI programming with AWT and event handling, this we have covered already. These concepts are common for CSC also, so these concepts we have already covered, like GUI with AWT, abstract window toolkit, and event handling we have already covered. So these two concepts are pending for you people, IT people, so that's the reason I'm explaining these two over here. Okay, applet as well as JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. So if we complete these two in today's session, then one more concept is left out, that is servlets, that I will try to complete in tomorrow's session. Okay, in tomorrow we will do the one more session on this Java programming, and I will try to conclude the servlets concept in tomorrow's session. Okay, so quickly, without much wasting the time, we will get into the concept applets. Okay, what exactly is an applet? Java applet, in the sense, it is a special type of program. It is also a kind of program only. See, this applet concept and JDBC concept, it comes under your core Java only. Okay, core Java concept only. But when it comes to servlets, they are part of your advanced Java. Okay, you have to remember this one. So applets, they comes under core Java, and it is also a program, a special type of Java program that is embedded. I mean, basically when you create an applet, what will happen? The applet will be embedded inside a web page. Okay, like a small utility or like a small tool, it will gets executed under your web page to generate the dynamic content. Okay, most of the times the websites will be static, and in order to add the dynamic content, applet is one such approach. Okay, using applet we can add the dynamic content to our web page, we can say. Okay, web application, we can say. And the applets, they run in web browsers. Okay, they run inside the browser. okay, inside the browser and works at client side. So if you have the concept of client and server, basically these applets gets downloaded into the client machine and they execute under the client browser software. Okay, from the server it will be downloaded into the client and it will get executed under the client machine on the client browser software. Okay, so advantages of our applets, there are many different advantages we have with respect to these applets. They are as follows. The first one is already I told you, as it is executing at client side, okay, the response time will be less, or I mean, when you are hitting the request, you immediately you will get the response because the applet will be executed in the client machine only. Okay, and it is more secure. Okay, we should not say secured because we have a lot of many applications which are more secured than applet, because applets, as I said, it is an outdated concept. At the time when they designed this concept, they thought that it is secure, but by keeping in mind the current market scenario, we should not say the applet is secured. Okay, but as we are following the concept, when you write in your exam, make it secured only. Okay, you mention this term, applet is secured. Okay, and yes, applet, as it is executing in a browser, the only thing which you need to run this applet program is the browser software. So any machine with a proper browser software and a proper plugin to run this applet can run this applet program. Okay, it can be executed by browsers running under many different platforms. Irrespective to the platform, you can execute these applet programs like your Linux, like Windows, Macintosh OS. All these operating systems, they easily run these applet programs. The only requirement is we need to have a proper browser software along with a proper plugin to run the applet program. So the drawback of applet, if you check, in order to execute these applet programs, we need a plugin, a special type of plugin, that when you execute the applet program, automatically your browser will hint to download that plugin, and you can download that plugin from the server or from the internet and you can execute. Okay, this overhead is there. I mean, in order to execute the applet program, we need a proper plugin application and it is considered as an overhead. Because of that reason, we mentioned this plugin requirement under drawbacks of the applet. Okay, plugin in the sense what we call uh, a ready-made software, we can say a ready-made software which directly gets installed inside the client browser application. Okay, so then the hierarchy of classes, I mean, what classes we have in relation with this applet class, and how we can create our applet program and how we can execute the applet program, all those things we will discuss. See, the applet, it stands under the panel class. I mean, this type of hierarchy we already discussed when we discussed about the AWT and Swing. AWT classes and Swing classes. They are also part of, I mean, they are also subclasses of this component, container, and panel. And our applet class, which we are talking about, it is also a subclass of panel class, which in turn is a subclass of container, and which in turn is a subclass of component. So whatever properties we have of these component, container, panel, all those properties we are getting inside the applet. And as we know, these are very much helpful. I mean, component, container, panel, these things are very much related with GUI. So when we are talking about this applet, applet is not, I mean, applet is also the same. I mean, in order to get the GUI in our application, we use this applet. Remember this one. So as displayed in the diagram, applet class is extending the panel class, which in turn is extending the container, and which in turn is extending the component class. Okay, our panel class and our applet class, they are the subclasses of component and container classes. Okay, you just remember the hierarchy. So whatever interfaces and methods we have over here, whatever methods we have over here will get over here, will get over here, and here also. Okay, So it is the hierarchy. I mean, remembering the hierarchy in the sense, if you are familiar with any of the methods of the superclass, your subclass ultimately inherit those methods. So no need to work on those methods once again inside the subclass. Okay. The advantage of remembering the hierarchy is that one only. So the life cycle of your applet, we have many different stages or many different phases in the applet life cycle. I mean, when you are creating an applet, it goes along with these stages. Okay, first it will enter into the initialized state, then it will get started, then it will get painted. I mean, whatever output you want to give from an applet, with the help of painting only we will give. Painted in the sense it will print on the browser. Okay, it will print on the browser or it will print on the window. Okay, we have two different ways in which we can execute the applet that very soon we are going to see. Like an application, we can run the applet, or like a browser module, we can run the applet. Both the approaches we will see. Okay. Then we have the after painting. I mean, once you have seen the output, then the next approach is the stopped method. So with the help of that, we are stopping the applet, and then the destroyed. Okay, destroyed in the sense the complete memory allocations related to the applet will be released. Okay. Simply the applet will get destroyed so that it will not be available inside the JVM, or so that it will not be available inside that plugin application. Okay. Yes, these are the different stages or different steps inside the life cycle of your applet. We will discuss in detail, one by one. So there are different methods which are responsible for the life cycle of your applet. So basically we have 5 different methods inside the applet life cycle. For each method constitute each stage over here. Okay. So 4 methods under those 5 methods. 4 methods we have under applet class. Just now we have seen 5 methods we have under applet class, and 1 method under component class. Okay. What the listing of these methods we will see in our next slide here. See, the applet class, it is having the 4 life cycle methods. They are your init method for initializing the object, for initializing the applet, the start method to start the what we call applet, the stop method to stop the applet, and destroy method to release the memory, or it is used to destroy the applet, and it is invoked only once. Applet, destroy method, it will be invoked only once. Okay. Yes, these are the methods which inside the applet. I mean, many times they will ask about the applet life cycle, so you need to remember. This is one of the important question, I can say. So you have to remember these methods. Okay, init method, start method, stop method, and destroy method. They are the part of your applet class, and we have one more method, that is paint method, which is useful in writing the output on the applet. Okay. So this paint method, it is part of your component class, because this is something related to the graphics stuff, so it is available inside the components class. Okay. So the lifecycle method, paint method of the applet lifecycle, it is available under the component class. Okay. If you read the description about the paint method, it is used to paint the applet. Okay. It provides graphics class object that can be used for drawing different symbols. If you want to draw different symbols on the applet, you can do with the help of this graphics object G. Or simply if you want to write some content on the applet, that also you can do with the help of this G method. Sorry, G object. Under this G, we have, under this graphics class, we have drawString method. With the help of the drawString method, we will write the content on the applet. See, as we said, we have to discuss only the simple programs. We will not get into deep. Okay. Because only the revisited, they are saying applet revisited, just that thing they are saying. We will not go into deep, and we will not discuss much of the concepts under this applet. Okay. So then we have, who is responsible to manage the life cycle of an applet, in the sense your plugin which you are installing in under the browser. That plugin is responsible for maintaining or managing the life cycle methods of your applet. Okay. The plugin only initiate the applet, that is nothing but the plugin only calls the init method, the plugin only calls the start method, the plugin only calls the stop, the plugin only destroys, and the plugin only calls the paint method. Okay. So then how to run an applet, in the sense we have two different ways, one with the help of browser application and another one with the help of applet viewer tool. So this applet viewer tool, by default it will come with your Java. I mean, whenever you are installing the Java application, this applet viewer tool will come as part of your Java application only. Standard edition SDE, when you SDK, when you are installing JDK, Java development kit, when you are installing, this tool will come along with that JDK only. No need to go for any specialized software or specialized thing to be downloaded or to be included inside your packages so that you can get this applet viewer. It will come by default. Then we have, yeah, we have two approaches. As we said, the first approach is directly inside the browser, and the second approach is the second approach is using this applet viewer tool. Okay, so one by one we will see both, I mean, how we can execute inside a browser and how we can use this applet viewer tool so as to get the output on our applet. Okay, so quickly we will go with the simple example of applet by using HTML file. HTML file means the browser. Okay, to execute the applet by HTML, create an applet and compile it. First of all, we have to create and we have to compile. Then we have to create an HTML file which should contain the applet class code, applet code in HTML file. Applet code, in the sense, here the dot class file, whatever we are going to get after compiling the Java program. Here what we are doing, we are writing a Java program for this applet, then we are compiling. So once you compile, you will get the dot class file. Include the dot class file into the HTML file, and now open the HTML file, you will get the output. So this approach we will see first, and the code related to that applet is over here. See, this code we have to write inside the Java file. First.java, I'm taking my applet name, first applet, like that we will take. Okay, first applet.java, and it should extend, when you are making your Java program as an applet, the class should extend the applet class. So now this first will also become my applet. So then call the paint method, that init method and rest of all the method, destruction method, init method, start method, stop method, all those methods will be invoked by your software only. We need to focus only on this paint method because we are writing something, welcome message on the applet on these coordinates. Every window is going to have the coordinates, as we know. Okay, so these coordinates indicates from the top and from the right. Okay, from the right, sorry, from the left and from the top, wherever it these things will coincide, at that point it will consider as the starting point for writing this message. There it will write that welcome message on the browser. Okay, then after writing this code, what we have to do, we have to compile this code to get the dot class file. First dot for this example we need to get the first dot class, and after getting that first dot class we need to write this code. See, here we are writing first dot code. We have to open one HTML file, and in that HTML file we need to put this thing. Okay, HTML opening, HTML closing, body opening, body closing, then applet code tag we have to use, and applet tag we have to use. In that code we have to put first dot class, and then width and height of your browser window. Width and height of your browser window we need to give. Then open, I mean, after putting this code inside the HTML files, inside this file, save this file with .html extension, and once the file is saved, just double click on that file to open the applet. Okay, so this we will practice now. First I will write this code into a Java file, and then I will execute. And yeah, whenever you are doing this type of programming like applet and JDBC, I suggest you to go with the normal regular approach of executing the program, Java programs. Don't go for any IDEs or any what we call specialized tools, because those tools will require the configuration, special configuration, in order to execute these applets and in order to execute this what we call JDBC programs. Okay, We need specialized configuration. For that reason, we are not going for the specialized tools. Rather, we are going directly with the traditional way of executing the Java programs. So my working directory is this one, cscit. So under this directory only I am working. So I'm taking a simple notepad and I'm opening that notepad. Here I'm writing that code. So first of all, what I have to do, I need to import the applet class and I need to import the graphics class from AWT package. Applet class from applet package and graphics class from AWT package. Two things I need to import. So import java.applet.applet colon, then import java.awt.graphics class. Two classes we have imported. Then write your class, that is first applet extends what applet class, extends applet class, and in this one you write your psvm public, not psvm, paint method, sorry, and it is also void, I mean public void paint method, no psvm, because it is not a regular Java application, it is an applet, so we need to put only the paint method. Public void paint of your paint method will take the graphics class object as an argument. Graphics g, okay. Then inside it, g dot, call the drawString method. As you can see, drawString, draw string method. It will take, this drawString method will take a message, welcome to applets, then provide the what we call where you want to place that message, the coordinates, okay, window coordinates, we can say 150 150. Close this drawString method, then close the paint method and close the applet class, okay. Then save this, go to save as. uh, yeah, we have to give that same name over here, first applet, control C, yes, this first applet, then go to save as, put that name dot java, first applet dot java, save it, program got saved. Now open the terminal window, command prompt, and here I need to change my prompt to the current working directory. This is my current working directory for Java, so I need to change my location to this directory. Hit enter. Okay, now in my now I am in that directory. First of all, just check whether type dir, yeah, it is listing all the files. So I think it's better for our understanding if I put all these files except that applet, okay, except this file. If I put all the files into another folder, just I'm creating one folder, sample, okay, and I want to put all my files into that folder, because we are unable to see now that first where it is, first applet, okay, only this thing I want to leave, and control X, go here and put all those things into this sample. Okay, here you come back, and this file only we need, okay, this file only I was talking about, and this file only I need. So now what I have to do, yeah, go to the command prompt once again, cmd, and cd, change location, copy this location, cscit, my current working directory, come back over here, paste it, hit enter. Now if you type dir, it will list only that particular file, applet.java. So now java c first applet dot Java. This is for compilation. As you can see, it is giving some errors. First applet, public first applet extends applet. Okay, just open this in Edit Plus. Maybe some mistakes we have done. Okay, AWT graphics, G dot drawstring. I'm not seeing any mistakes. Public directly I kept my, I forgot to put class, I guess. Yeah, here you can see public, it is a class. Public class first applet extends applet. Now save it, close it, go here. Okay, Java C first applet. It is saved successfully. So now after saving, we will get the, as you can see, we got the dot class file. So once you get the dot class file, what we need to do? Yeah, we need to write this code into an HTML file. My applet.html they are saying. So I will create that also here only. Just go take the notepad, and in that you write that code. What is that? HTML, close it. Okay, then put body HTML, sorry, body, and use the applet code. Okay, applet tag and applet, then code equals to, give the class name. Our class name is first applet dot class. Okay, first applet dot class, and give the width and height. I'm giving a width of the window like 300, then height of the window is also like 300. Then close this. Okay, these things, yes, as you can see, we have to give in double quotations. This and this also we need to give in double quotations. Then come down and close the applet tag, close applet, and come down, close the body tag, and close the HTML tag. Okay, now save it. Program got save as. Okay, my applet dot html, something we are giving some random name, then save. Okay, so as you can see, this got saved in my current directory like this, like a browser it got saved. Okay, like a browser application it got saved. So what I have to do, like a browser web page, it got saved. So now we need to open it with Chrome. Okay, for some reason it is not printing. First applet dot class we have, and in this, when we are trying, it is not printing, right? Let me just check the code of this one. Yeah, we have the here first applet. Am I missing anything? Applet code equals to applet. Okay, body we have opened. Applet code is equals to first applet dot class. Our app class name is first applet, so first applet dot class, width height we have given, then applet. Okay, it seems to me everything okay here, but I don't know for what reason it is not giving the output, because it is very simple, right? Maybe the configuration issue we got over here. Applet viewer. I'm trying the second approach actually. Applet.java. So for this, what we have to do is this thing we need to put here. At least we will try that second approach whether we are getting or not. So in this one only, we need to open with Notepad, go to down and put these things like a comment. Okay, we have to put these things like a comment inside your Java program. Put these things like a comment. Same thing we need to put like a comment, then save. I will explain. Okay, I'm just trying why it is not giving the output. I'm just trying. I will explain the stuff to you. Okay, then go here, applet view. First we need to compile. And got compiled, then applet viewer. As you can see, we got welcome to applet. Okay, so the browser approach, it is due to some reason, because as I said, it needs the plugin software, and when it is connected with the server, means automatically it will give the indication that you need the plugin software in order to run the applet. And for some reason that software is not configured properly. I have tried, because I have tried this application previously, it worked for me. But now, because many times my system got updated in between, and I have restarted my system also many times, because of that reason only I think that configuration it got changed, and that plugin software got corrupted or something. Because of that reason, I'm not getting my output in the browser. You try this one, it is very easy. You try this one, you can easily get the output for the applet in the web browser. The second approach is executing the applet program with the help of applet viewer tool. Applet, applet viewer tool. Applet viewer, to execute the applet by applet viewer tool, what we have to do, we have to create the applet that contains the applet tag in the comment. Okay, what we have to do, same program code we need to write, applet program we need to write, and whatever HTML file we have written separately in my previous example, that same code you need to put inside comments of the Java file only. We write only one file now, we don't write two files, we write only one file, and that file, in that file only we put the applet tag. Okay, after that, run it by applet viewer. After executing, what we are doing, we are running the program with applet viewer uh, command. Okay, and if you are running the applet viewer command with the file name, then you will get the output, applet output. And here in this case, the HTML file is not required. Okay, once again we go and we check this one. As you can see, only one file we have now, Java file. Okay, and in that file only we kept both the code, Java code as well as the HTML code. We kept both the codes inside that single file, and then we are using this first.java to compile Java C, first.java, and using first.java only when we are running the program. Using applet viewer command, we are running the program, and at the time of running, we are not using the dot class file. Rather, what we are saying, first.java only we are saying. Using applet viewer, we are running. Okay, so quickly we once again we go to our folder. Now, as I said, no need of this file, no need of this file, this also not required, and we need only one file now, that is first applet. Okay, this only one file we need, and in this file what I am doing, I'm opening it with notepad, and as you can see here, first I have written, this is my Java code, this is my Java code, and this is my HTML code, and in the HTML also these things are not required, HTML body and these things are not required, only applet tag is sufficient. Just put the applet tag with which gives the reference to your class file. Okay, here first applet. When you compile, and when you compile, you will get first applet dot class, and that first applet dot class we kept inside the applet code. And if you run this, compile this program and run this program using the applet viewer, you will get the output for the applet. Okay, simple thing. My program name is first applet, and which is extending the applet class. Just save this once again and close this. Now take the current directory location, go to the command prompt. Okay, command prompt. As you can see here, what I am doing, cd space the path I am giving. Now I change it to this cscit directory, to my current directory. Now java c, then first applet.java. When I compile this, you can see the dot class file dynamically over here, created over here. Hit the enter. As you can see, yes, it is creating, I mean, the dot class file got created. Now what I have to do, using applet viewer, applet viewer command, I want to run my applet program. Applet viewer first applet dot java. Hit enter. You will get the output in the window like this. You will get the, here you can see applet. It is an applet. Here restart, reload, stop, save, start, clone, all these things, these different methods you have over here. This is added by default to every applet application. Okay, and here the message which I have written in my program, welcome to applets, that message I am seeing over here, exactly 150 from here. I mean, this window is of 300 size, and we are seeing this welcome to applet exactly in the middle. You can say it is starting exactly in the middle. So this is how the applet program will run. Hopefully you understood this one. So then we have a few more things to discuss in our class, that is the JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. So JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity, and it is an API. Basically, what is JDBC? In the sense, it is an API, and it is responsible for connecting with the database. I mean, we have done many applications development. I mean, inside your C or inside your Python, whenever we are going for application development, definitely we need a backend. Backend means your database, where we are going to maintain the information, or where we are going to maintain the data of our application. And whenever we want the data into our application, we will communicate with the database and we retrieve the data. And whenever we want to do the modifications to the data, same thing, once again we will communicate with the database and we do the modification. And whenever we want to delete, same thing, connecting the database and deleting the data. So persistent memory, database is nothing but the persistent memory or the permanent memory. Because application, you are running the application, you are creating the variables, you are storing the data into those variables, and you are closing the application, then what will happen? Those data, whatever you stored inside the variables, inside objects, that will be deleted. Okay, you cannot get it back. Once it is deleted, you cannot get it back. So because of that reason, we need a permanent memory, and your database is one such convenient way to store the data permanently. Okay, so JDBC, it is an API which is used to connect and execute the queries with the database. So whenever we are interacting with the database, maybe this semester only you are learning the database management systems subject, and in that you are completely aware of these databases. Okay, how we are using SQL, structured query language, how we are framing different queries in order to communicate with the database. Okay, and this JDBC, it is an API basically, and which is used, I mean, which is going to have the different classes and different interfaces, different methods, which are helpful in establishing the communication between the application, Java application, and the database. So whenever we interact with the database directly, we can't go and interact. First of all, we need to establish a connection. Okay, that connection, how we establish, and statements, how we create, how we send those statements to the database, how we execute those statements, how we get the result back into our application, and how we manage that result, Everything we will learn step by step, but in today's session only I will try to wind up those things. Okay, and for this JDBC also we will execute only one program. Okay, that is more than enough. In your syllabus also they're not asking more. That means they are not going into deep of this particular concept. If you go to JDBC, it will take nearly 10 to 15 sessions in order to fully complete this concept. That is not our intention. We just need to learn the basics and simple program. We are doing that one. Okay. So API is nothing but application programming interface. It is going to have all the classes, interfaces, methods which are helpful in establishing the in order to accomplish this particular concept. Remember this one. And it is a part of your Java SE standard edition. When you are downloading the Java and when you are installing the JDK standard edition, you will get this API. You don't need to go for any special software or any special thing in order to have this in your computer. If you have the Java, that means if you have the JDBC API, Java API. Okay, JDBC API uses JDBC drivers. These drivers we need to download and we need to configure. That also I will show. One simple driver I will download from the internet and I will show you how to configure that. Okay. So the JDBC API uses these drivers because this driver application, they acts like a mediator program between the database and between the Java application. This driver application, it acts like a mediator. There are different types of drivers we have. Okay, basically they are divided into 4 types. See, database, when we are interacting, that database can be from any vendor. We have CBEL database, we have SQL database, we have MySQL database, we have Oracle database. That database can be from any from different vendors. So in order to communicate with those databases, we need driver applications. Communication we cannot simply establish. Definitely we need a driver program. So that driver software is nothing but we have 4 different types in JDBC. Okay. There are 4 different types of JDBC drivers. The first one is JDBC ODBC bridge driver. That is this first one is no more in use right now. Okay, it is completely outdated one. The first one, JDBC ODBC bridge driver, and it is having many issues. Because of that reason, we are not using. We will go with because whatever programs we practice under this JDBC, we are interacting with Oracle, and we use the Oracle specific driver. Okay, we are using that specialized driver and it comes under the 4th driver category, that is thin driver, specific to the vendor of database, specific to the vendor of the database. And this JDBC ODBC driver, it is not written in Java, it is written in C language. Because of that reason, it is having some drawbacks that we will discuss. Then we have the native driver, it is partly written in Java. Then the third one is network protocol driver, it is also partly written in Java. I guess this network protocol driver, it is fully written in Java. Then thin driver, it is also fully written in Java. So if a particular thing is written fully in Java, it is advisable to use because Java is portable. Those advantages, disadvantages, one by one we will study in our next slides. Okay, see here you can see our Java application with the help of JDBC API this JDBC driver is going to act like a mediator in order to communicate with the database. This diagram will depicts the complete picture of the use of JDBC API and use of JDBC driver. Our application, it is used to interact with the database with the help of a particular JDBC driver. We can use the JDBC API to access the tabular data. So whenever we are saying database, it is going to have the tables. Inside the database, what we are going to have? We are going to have the tables. Okay, those tables are stored in any relational database. Any relational database in the sense irrespective to the vendor. As I said, we have Oracle, we have CBEL, we have MySQL. All these are different vendors of the database. So in order to interact with these databases, we need a proper driver. Okay. By the help of JDBC API, what we can do, we can save, update, delete, fetch, manipulate the database. All these operations we can perform on the database with the help of JDBC API. The JDBC API is going to have the proper methods in order to accomplish this job. Okay, it is like open database connectivity, ODBC, provided by Microsoft. Okay, ODBC driver, it is provided by the Microsoft people. Okay, so here the current version of JDBC is 4.3, and it is a stable release after 21st September 2017. I mean, we didn't get any version, any updated version after this 4.3. And when we got this 4.3, in the sense in 20 on 21st September 2017. It is based on XOpen SQL call level interface. It is a type of interface which is used in the development of this API. Okay. Under this API, JDBC API, we have java.sql package, okay, which contains all the classes and interfaces for JDBC API. Okay. So a list of popular interfaces of this JDBC API are driver interface, connection interface, statement interface, prepared statement, callable statement, result set metadata, database metadata, and row set. All these are different interfaces which we have under this JDBC API. We also have a set of classes under this JDBC API. They are driver manager, blob, clob, and types classes. We use only this driver manager class in our implementation. This blob, clob, and types classes, you can, if you want, you can go for the description of these classes, uses of these classes. Okay. And why should we use JDBC? In the sense, before we use this JDBC, there was ODBC API, Open Database Connectivity API, that to connect and execute the queries with the database. Okay, but ODBC API, as I said, ODBC driver, this ODBC API, it uses the ODBC driver which is written in C language. Okay, the problem with this ODBC driver is it is written in C language, and this ODBC driver, it is platform dependent. Because it is written in C language, it is platform dependent, and moreover it is unsecured. Anybody can simply roam in that connection if you are establishing the connection with the help of ODBC. Anybody, once the connection is open, anybody can interact with that connection and can access your database content. Because of that reason, it is completely unsecured and it is platform dependent. And anything which is platform dependent, it is completely not advisable in Java. That is the reason Java has defined its own API, and that is JDBC API. Okay, that uses JDBC driver written in Java language. JDBC drivers we have now, and these drivers are completely written in Java language. So one by one, all four drivers we will discuss. We can use JDBC API to handle database using Java program and can perform the following activities: connecting to the database, executing the queries and updating the statements, and retrieving the results received from the database. These type of operations we can perform on the database. So before retrieving or before updating, before executing any queries, what we have to do, first of all, we need to establish the connection. Once the connection is established, then only you can talk with the database. Okay. So what is an API? It is an application programming interface, or we can say it is the documentation for the complete classes, interfaces, methods, whatever you have under the a particular package. Okay, API is nothing but it will have the complete description, complete documentation of different features which your API is going to exhibit, or which your program or software is going to exhibit. Okay, so as we said, we need to discuss about this JDBC driver. JDBC drivers, they are of four different types. The first one is the JDBC ODBC bridge driver, then native API driver, which is partly written in Java, network protocol driver, it is fully written in Java, and thin driver, it is also fully written in Java. So using these two is advisable rather than going with these things. Okay. So the JDBC ODBC bridge driver, already we discussed the drawbacks of this JDBC ODBC bridge driver. It is written in ODBC driver, it is written in C language, and it is portable and it is less secure. So the JDBC ODBC bridge driver uses ODBC driver to connect to the database. The JDBC ODBC bridge driver converts the JDBC methods calls into ODBC function calls. Because ODBC, it is written in C language, so here we are going to have functions, and The JDBC methods we are writing in Java, so we are calling them as methods. So whenever you are using this JDBC ODBC bridge driver, here these bridge driver is written in C language, and your methods are with methods which are helpful in communicating with the database, they are written in Java. So those methods needs to be translated into functions. So there is a conversion overhead is here. Converting methods into functions, it is an overhead on the system. Okay, this is now discouraged because of thin driver. We have many advanced drivers after this JDBC ODBC bridge driver. That's the reason we are not going for this JDBC ODBC bridge driver. As you can see, JDBC API we have, Java application we are implementing, and this Java application, in order to communicate with the database, before communicating with the database, we need to go with this, JDBC ODBC bridge driver we need, then ODBC driver we need, and also the vendor specific database library files we need. So because of this reason, these things are not advised. So this you can install in any system, but all these things you need on the client machine. Okay, you need the JDBC ODBC bridge driver on the client machine, ODBC driver on the client machine, and as well as the vendor specific library files also, database library files also on the client machine. Then only you can establish the communication between your Java application and the database, if you are going with this approach, JDBC ODBC bridge driver approach. Okay, fortunately we are not going with this one, and Oracle does not support the JDBC ODBC bridge driver after Java 8. Whatever Java we are using, that is the latest version of Java we are using. So if you are going with JDBC ODBC bridge driver, you can't execute your JDBC programs in advanced versions of Java after Java 8. Okay, Oracle recommends you to use the JDBC drivers provided by the vendors of database instead of JDBC ODBC drivers. Okay, so what it is recommending, we have to go with the vendor specific JDBC drivers instead of going with the JDBC ODBC bridge driver. Okay, as I said, here we are communicating with Oracle database only, so we need to find out an Oracle specific JDBC driver that we will download into our machine, and that we will put in a proper place so that we can have the interaction with the database. I will show you, no issues. So next thing is the advantages of this second type of advantages of this first type of driver, JDBC ODBC bridge driver, in the sense it is easy to use. Okay, the coding will be very easy and can be easily connected to any database. So once you have this ODBC bridge driver, you can easily connect to any of the database. You no need to work for vendor specific. Okay, but the configuration in all the machines you have to do. Suppose 100 machines are connecting with the database, in the sense in all 100 machines you have to do the configuration. Okay, that is an overhead on the application developers. The disadvantages, already I said, performance is degraded because JDBC method calls needs to be converted into function calls. Easy to implement, easy to manage, but overhead will be there on the system. And if millions of users are communicating with the database, then what will happen? More overhead will be there on the server. And because of that reason, if the overhead increases, because of that reason, there is a possibility that the server may crash. And disadvantages, the first disadvantage we discussed, and the second disadvantage, as I said, the ODBC bridge driver needs to be installed on all machines, all the client machines. Okay, that is one of the drawback. And next thing, the second type of driver, that is native API driver, which is written partly in Java, not fully Java, but partly in Java. The native API driver uses the client-side libraries of the database. Okay, client-side libraries it is using in order to communicate with the database. The driver converts the, here also the conversion. Okay, the driver converts the JDBC methods calls into native calls. Native in the sense related to your database. There is also a conversion between methods to native calls, okay, of the database API. Okay, it is not written entirely in Java. It is not fully written in Java. Partly written in Java. It is partly written in Java. The advantage, performance when you compare with the ODBC, where we are converting the JDBC method calls into ODBC function calls, the performance will be more. Okay, the performance is upgraded than the JDBC ODBC bridge driver. Okay, here the disadvantages: the native driver needs to be installed on all the client machines, and the vendor client libraries needs to be installed on all the client machines. These two things we need: vendor client libraries we need, as well as the native driver we need. Okay, these two are the disadvantages of the second type of driver. Then we have the third driver, that is network protocol driver. It uses the middleware, or we can say the application server, that converts the JDBC calls directly or indirectly into vendor specific database protocol. Here also the conversion takes place, and it is fully written in Java. Okay, the middleware concept, it is an high level concept, and it is too early for you to explain the term middleware. Okay, you can remember it as a service provided by the some third party. Okay, you can understand, you can remember this as a service provided by any third party. So that third party is responsible for converting your JDBC calls into vendor specific database calls. We will send our request, we will send our method call to that middleware, and that middleware will convert that method call into vendor specific database protocol. Okay, so that you can interact with the database. So all these drivers, whatever we are using from 1 2 3, they are the mediators for having the interaction between Java application and the database. And this particular application, it is fully written in Java. This particular driver, it is fully written in Java, and it is advisable to use. Okay, but that middleware, as it is a third party, it is somewhat costly. I mean, in drawbacks we will discuss that one. Okay, here you can see the advantage is no client side libraries are required, because we are giving our requests directly to the middleware team. Okay, so no client side libraries are required because of application server. The concept of application server came into existence, and this application server is only having that responsibility of converting your Java's method calls into vendor specific database protocols. Okay, that can perform many tasks like auditing, load balancing, logging, etc. He will take care. I mean, the application server will take care of all these things. Now, the disadvantages: network support is required on client machine. Client machines should have the network support, so that we can send the uh, I mean, vendor specific, I mean, we can, so that we can send the Java method calls to the application server, and required database specific coding to be done in middle tier. On the application server, what you have to do means you have to do some sort of coding, so that your Java method calls will be converted into application specific code. Suppose if you are installing Oracle, that Oracle specific coding needs to be done on the middle tier. Middle tier is nothing but your middleware, your application server. Okay, maintenance of network protocol driver becomes costly because it requires database specific coding to be done in the middle tier. Because of this reason, because we are doing some kind of coding on the middle tier, and this needs to be modified every time, this network protocol driver maintenance will be is considered a bit costly. Okay, because of this reason we are not opting this one also. And our final approach, the thin driver, which converts JDBC calls directly into vendor specific protocol. So now no middle tier, no ODBC driver, no vendor specific library files, nothing. Directly the JDBC calls we are converting into vendor specific. There is no mediator now. Okay, that is the reason why it is known as thin driver. Thin means very small. Directly it will convert this method calls into database specific protocol. It is fully written in Java, so it is its usage is completely advisable. And we use one such thin driver concept only. We just download one particular driver file from the internet, and we put in a proper location, so that we execute our JDBC programs. Okay, advantages of this fourth type of driver is the performance is better when compared with all other types of driver, and no software is required. Special software is required on the client machines. Just we need to put the driver, download the driver and put the driver, that's enough. And disadvantages: driver depends on the databases. So if the database you are communicating is changed, you need to change the driver also. Okay, that is the only drawback. So every database is going to have its specific driver application, its specific driver to connect. Okay. So what steps we follow in order to have the connectivity between the database and your Java application? In the sense, there are 5 steps. Okay, there are 5 steps to connect any Java application with the database using JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. If you want to use this Java Database Connectivity API in order to have the communication between the Java application and the database, you need to follow these 5 steps. First of all, we need to register the driver. This registration will be done with the help of some methods. Then create the connection. This is also will be done with the help of some methods. Create the statements, execute the queries, and then close the connection. These 5 steps we need to follow whenever we are communicating with the database. So these 5 steps, they are very, very important, and many times they ask these things. What are the steps involved in connecting with the database? Okay. In connecting the Java application with the database, in the sense, first of all, we need to register the driver, create the connection, create the statement, execute the queries, and close the connection. So one by one, we will discuss how we do the registration, driver registration. In the sense, we use the for name method. This for name method we have under the class. See, we have a predefined class with name class. We have a predefined class with name class, and under this class we have the for name method, which is responsible for registering our driver. Whatever driver you are giving, to register the driver, we use this for name method. Okay, and this method is used dynamically to load the driver class into your JVM. When you are executing your Java program to load this driver class, we use this for name method. The syntax of the for name method you can see over here. It is a static method. So whenever we have a static method, no need to depend on the object for calling this method. Directly using the class name you can call. As you can see over here, class name, class dot for name. So this class is the class name which is holding the for name method. So class dot for name. Why it is possible? How it is possible means because your for name method, it is static. So as your for name method is static, you can call that for name method directly with the help of class name. So class dot for name of, you need to provide this complete driver description. So this is the description of your driver program. Okay. Oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. You need to provide this description so that this driver gets loaded into the program environment. Okay, and if this loading is successful, it will put the driver program in as a mediator. But if this loading is not successful, then it will throw a class not found exception, as you can see over here. And this class not found exception, already we discussed, it is an unchecked exception. So definitely we need to put this class not found exception in throws class. Okay, already we discussed these things in exception handling. So registering the driver, we will do with the help of for name method. Then creating the connection, we do with the help of get connection method. Okay, get connection method, it is a part of your driver manager class. We have a class with name driver manager under java.sql package. Okay, driver manager class, and this driver manager class is holding the get connection method. So with the help of this get connection method, we are establishing the connection with the database. And there we need to provide the complete credentials, because whenever you are interacting with the database, it is going to have some what we call username and password. It is going to have a suitable port name. Okay, the URL, that complete thing we need to pass like an URL to the get connection method. Okay, suppose if you are interacting with the Oracle database whose credentials are system and password. Okay, username is system and password is password only, and the port number is 1521. So these credentials you have to pass like this. Okay, driver manager dot get connection, and you need to pass this entire thing. Localhost is the IP address of the system where you have the database software installed. So if you have installed the database software in the current machine itself, then use localhost over here. If it is installed on some other machine, then use the IP address of that machine along with the port number on which the Oracle software is running. Okay, then this thin you can see over here, because it is a thin driver, the fourth type of driver. Okay, so creating the connection object with the help of these things you can do get connection, and more specifically get connection. Okay, These two syntaxes you have to remember, and example also I have given using which we are establishing the connection with the database. So next, after creating the connection object, you need to create the statement. Statement is nothing but it is something like an SQL query only. Okay, create the statement. So when you are creating the statement, here it requires the SQL query to be passed. Okay, statement, create statement, STMT. This statement will be created with the help of create statement method, and that create statement method you have to invoke on connection object. So once the statement is ready, to that statement you can pass the SQL query. Okay, passing the SQL query and executing the SQL query simultaneously you do. When we do the programming, there you will understand how we do all these things. So after executing the query with the help of execute query method, the result will be returned by this execute query method. So that result to store, we need a result set. Okay, result set. Okay, this entire thing we will see over here. You can see result set rs equals to stmt statement dot execute query of pass this SQL query. So select star from emp. So what we are doing, we are retrieving all the records from the employee table. We are retrieving all the records from the employee table. So those records will be stored inside this rs result set. This result set, it is like a buffer. You consider this result set as a buffer, and from that buffer we can use, it is like an enumerator buffer as well as enumerator. Using the next method you can read all the records one by one. Okay, get int of 1, get int of, get string of 2. Likewise you can return all the all the method, all the fields whatever you have in that machine, in that table, those you can retrieve and you can print on the output screen. We will see an example program I will write, and we will see how this connectivity will be established with the database and how we can print all the records on the output screen. We will see. Okay, so then after that we need to close the connection, and that we do with the help of close method. Okay, close method is responsible for closing the connection. That's it. So here when we wrote that JDBC ODBC bridge driver or oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver, and we are passing the connection URL and username password. What are all those things? Here I have explained in detail. What is port number? I have already told you now. This localhost is nothing but this is the IP address of the machine where the database software is installed. This 1521 is the port number, and this XC is the service name. Because we are trying to establish a database service, a database connection service, so you need to give this XC, and this is vendor specific. For Oracle it is XC. For other database it will have some different service name over here. Okay, and this thin Oracle JDBC all are familiar names to us. Then username of the database software, password of the database software. Okay, these things we need to provide in order to establish the connection. So yeah, first of all what we have to do, we need to go to our creating the table. We need to go to our database software and we need to create the table so that we can have the interaction. Okay, so here they are creating employee. I will try to I think employee table, it is already existing, so I will try to use that same table over here. I will show you what fields we have in that employee table, and how we are going to retrieve the records from that table. Okay, so yeah, go to the database software first of all. I think it is not opened here, so I need to go to my desktop, or I will try here in the search bar Oracle. Yeah, it is run command. It is opening the Oracle run command. So no, it is not opening. So let me just go to my desktop, because there only I have the command prompt. Discard. Yeah, this run SQL command prompt, I'm opening this one. So on this command prompt we can interact with the database. Okay, just yeah, I hope you have completed the database DBS, that is database systems subject, so you might know few of the commands in SQL structured query language. So like this, select star from tab. What it will do, it will list all the tables available in my current database. Okay. Okay, not connected. So first of all, before passing any commands, what I have to do, I need to connect to the database. So connect command can be used to connect to the database. So it is asking me username, and my username is ISLCSC001 is the username, and password is also same, ISLCSC001. So see here, it is showing connected now. Then select star from tab. Yeah, it is showing two tables over here. One is employee table and another one is the customer table. So now I will try to open the employee table. Select star from EMP. It is having, see, all these different fields like employee ID, employee name, employee salary, address, door number, street, like this. And in this we have only the three fields, because we need only three fields now. So this table, this particular table I use, and I will try to read these columns, and I will try to print these columns with the help of a Java application. Okay, minimize this one and go to our slides. Yes, these slides. Then after creating the table, yeah, this is the program that we need to write. Okay, and the above program will fetch all the records of employee table. In the employee table, whatever records we have, it will fetch all the records. So I need to write this complete program. Okay, and over here, as you can see, few of the things we need to change in this particular program, like the username. Here we are saying system, but my username is ISL CSC 001, and my password is also same, ISL CSC 001. That thing I need to put over here. And according to, yeah, table name is same, employee table only we are retrieving. Okay, and we are saying star, so we are retrieving all the records. So the same driver we will provide. As I said initially, I have not done any configuration because I want to show the configuration also to you people. I have not done any configuration, so I will get the driver class not found issue over here. So after getting the class not found exception, we will try to put the driver class in a proper location, then that error will be removed. Okay, so just we will go and we will see, first we will type this program and we'll try to compile this program. Once this program is successfully compiled, we will go for execution. Execution procedure is, yeah, as I said, for Oracle, to connect the Java application with Oracle database. Here the statement is clearly mentioned, you can see. Okay, to connect the Java application with Oracle database, we need this particular jar file. This jar file is nothing but it is the driver program we can. Okay, driver program. This jar file we need to put at a proper location, or we need to do the path setting for that jar file. Okay, we have two ways. One is doing the class path setting, and the other one is keeping this Oracle 14.jar file in this location. Under your runtime environment, we'll be having one library lib folder, and under that lib folder we are having ext folder. If you put this OJDBC, Oracle Java Database Connectivity 14.jar file in this location, then your class file, what class file we need? This class file we need. See here, Oracle JDBC driver, Oracle driver class file we need. So this class file will be loaded at the time of execution of your program if you put this file at that location, or if you do the path setting for that OJDBC 14.jar file. And how we can do the path setting? I mean, two ways. One is either you have to copy the file at this location, or you have to do the path setting for that file. We will go with the first approach, will not go with the second approach. But how to do the second approach, that also I have shown over here. Okay, class paths, how class path setting the class path, we have two different ways. One is the temporary setting and another one is the permanent setting. Temporary setting we do with the help of class path command, set class path command. This is the temporary setting. And permanent setting we have to do inside environment variables. Okay, inside environment variables we have to do the permanent settings. So this path setting we are not doing because we are copying the class file, I mean that Oracle JDBC 14.jar file directly into our location JRE lib folder ext folder. Okay, So we will go and we'll type this program and we'll follow those steps to execute our program. Okay. So for that also I need yeah, here a temporary file, and open this temporary file with edit plus. Yeah, here you put the coding, because writing the code in Oracle in edit plus, it is way easier than writing the code in notepad. Okay, because we get color coding whenever we are writing the class name, whenever we are writing the method name, predefined stuff, keywords, we'll get color coding. So spelling mistake, there is less probability of spell mistake. Okay, so here we will start writing the code. So first what I have to do, include the SQL package. So import, uh, yeah, save this program with .java extension so that you can get the color coding. Save as, I'm saying, give the program here. What is the class name? Oracle connection. So Oracle con dot java. Hit enter. Okay, now import java dot sql dot star. Then write the class name, class Oracle connection. This is my class name, and we need to put the PSVM into this public static void main of uh, string args, like this. Then come down, and here in this we need to put the try, because many times it may raise exceptions, different types of exceptions. So now load the driver program. So that how we do, class dot for name method of JDBC oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot oracle driver, oracle dot JDBC dot driver uh, dot oracle driver. oracle Oracle driver is the class name. Close it, come down, then create the connection object. Okay, how we can create the connection object? With the help of get connection method. So connection is an interface, con is equals to what is that, uh, driver manager, because get connection method, it is a static method. So and available inside driver manager class, driver manager dot get connection of, yeah, we need to pass all these things, JDBC colon ODBC, JDBC colon Oracle colon thin, put like a string, Oracle colon thin at colon at the rate localhost, because my driver, I mean my Oracle application, it is running in the current system only, so I'm not going for IP address. If your Oracle is running in some host computer, uh, in some remote computer, then you have to give the IP address of that remote computer. Then what is the port number? 1521 is the port number on which the Oracle is running. Then the service name, that is XE, is the service name. Then what we have to do, close it and pass the username, and my username is ISLCSC001 is the username of my database. Then password is also same, ISLCSC001 is my password. Then close this. Then after that what we have to do, create the statement. Okay, statement stmt is equals to connection dot create statement. Statement stmt is the statement object, equals to connection object dot create statement method, create statement. Okay, statement of, that's it. This will create the statement, and using that statement you can execute the query using execute query method, and that result you need to store inside result set. Result set rs is equals to stmt dot statement dot execute query. Execute query, for executing query we have different methods, but we are using execute query method over here. execute query of, as we are retrieving all the records from the table. So select star from emp. This particular query I want to execute on the database. So after that I need to what we call, I need to run through this result set. I need to print the different records. So while as many records existing inside the uh, result set, this next what it will do, it will check the result set until and unless all the records which you loaded from the database into the result set gets over. Okay. So next what we are doing, the same thing we are printing on the output screen. We are printing only two things, system.out.println, that get int result set dot get integer of 1. Okay. Then we will concatenate that one with get string of okay, get string of 2, get string of 3. First thing is yeah, we just go to our database. So here eid, as you can see, this is integer, this is string, and this is string. How to check the type of different what we call fields over here? Description about the table, description emp. If you type, you can see the first eid, it is a numerical value, so like an integer you can read. Ename is varchar2, it is like an integer, you can read. And esal, it is number, like an integer, you can read. So accordingly we write our statements over here. So here I am reading two strings and one integer, but what I have to do, I need to read two integers and one string. First column is integer, second column is string, and third column is again integer. So that thing I need to put in my program here. First thing we are reading, and concatenate that thing with a space in between and read the second one. Yes, we don't need this one over here. Okay. First column we read like an integer, then second column you read like a string. Sorry, like a string you read the second column, and that also you concatenate with here concatenation I forgot, concatenate with space, concatenate rs dot get int of third, because third column is also integer, just now we have seen in our database. Okay, first column number, second column string, third column integer number. Come back to your edit plus. Where is edit plus? Okay, here it is. So come back to your edit plus and close that one. Close this one. So after closing that thing, simply come out of this one and close the connection. Con dot close. That's it. Connection dot close. And yeah, if there is any exception, this try block, for this try block, if there is any exception, we need to handle that with the help of catch, and we are writing the parent class, super class of all exceptions, exception class, and print the stack trace. Don't go for any other thing, directly print the stack trace. So how we can print the stack trace? System.out.println of e. Like this we can print the stack trace. Save it. Okay, over. So this closing for this one, and also we need to close the class that I forgot to close. Here we need to close the class. Okay, class got closed. Okay, now save the program. Okay, as we said, we need to execute this program in traditional way. So what I have to do, I need to go to my current directory on the prompt cmd, hit enter. This is my, okay, not this one, directly from run here you open, because here we have the proper setting. Okay, so on this simply check dir. Acha, we need to change to our current directory. Okay, so cd space that directory name, hit enter. Hopefully now we got the current directory. So cls, this has cleared the screen. So now what I have to do, dir you print directory content. As you can see here, my program name is Oracle connection dot Java. Try to compile that program. Java C Oracle uh, connection dot Java. Hit enter. Program got compiled successfully. So we got the class file, as you can see, oracle con dot class file. Now run that class file like a normal Java program. Only we need to run because we are using PSVM in the program. So oracle con, that's it. Hit enter. Yeah, we got the exception over here. You can see we got the exception, class not found exception, that Oracle JDBC driver, Oracle driver not found, because we forgot to copy that .jar file, ojdbc14.jar file. Directly you can type on the internet to get that file, but anyhow in this PPT I'm giving the link as well. If you go to that slide and if you hover on that one, you can see that link. Okay, this is a hyperlink, or this is the link on from where you can download the .jar file into your application, sorry, into your computer. Okay, so I have already done that one. I have already downloaded this .jar file into my computer, and it is there in downloads. See here, this one, ojdbc ojdbc 14.jar file. It is an executable jar file. So I need to copy this file, and where I have to place this file, just check that location. Yeah, here, jre lib ext. JRE in the sense our Java runtime environment. This Java runtime environment will be available inside your Java home directory only. Inside your Java home directory, this JRE, Java runtime environment folder, will be available, and in that folder you look for lib folder, library folder, and in that folder you look for ext folder, and in that ext folder you copy this file. Already I copied that one. Now I need to paste that in the respective location. So go to the C drive where I have all the software installed, program files, and my Java. As you can see here, I have Java. Open the Java. Then this is my JRE. As you can see, open this JRE. Then this is my lib. Under JRE we are looking for lib, so this is my lib, and under lib we are looking for ext, so this is my ext. So here you need to paste that one. Yeah, it will ask the permissions, just say continue. So it got pasted. Now ojdbc14 is available inside the libext folder. Okay, so now go here, and after doing that one, once again we need to close and open the terminal. Okay, run cmd cd space, take the location of your current directory cscit. Okay, copy this location, paste here, hit enter. Now once again you compile java c oracle con dot java, hit enter. Program got compiled successfully. Now try to run that program, oracle con. As you can see, we are getting the complete records from the employee table, which is there inside your database, and from the database we are accessing into our Java application. So this is how you can establish the JDBC connection using the thin driver. Okay, vendor specific thin driver, you can establish the connection. Once again I am showing that execution. This is for compilation successful, and this is for execution. So you will get that listing over here. So the same content you can check, you can cross check that content with the database. We have that same thing, 101 Ahmad 32,000, 102 John 27,000, like this. Wherever you have null, you are getting 0. Here you have null, you are getting 0. Okay, Robert, we know the Albert, all the names we are getting. Okay, so hopefully you understood this JDBC, and this is the last concept in your fourth unit, I guess, and we left with servlets concept in your fifth unit. That hopefully I will explain in my next session. Okay, till that time, yeah, we have covered all the concepts in JDBC. Yeah, here we covered all the concepts in JDBC, as well as we have also covered these applets in today's session. Okay, yeah, For servlets, you need to wait one more session. Thank you very much, students.